PBKC is your entertainment destination for poker, table games, OTV, Paddock live events, and exceptional eats. The Paddock restaurant is perfect for meetings, corporate functions, parties, fundraising, and more. Call 561-683-2222 extension 199 and book your next event today. Feast in Football is back in the Paddock. Get ready for touchdowns and tasty bites every football Sunday during the regular season. Enjoy a $25 all-you-can-eat buffet plus one draft beer, or get it free when you place a $25 or more live bet on the Hard Rock Bet app at PBKC. Featuring 140 HD TVs, 3 giant screens, and a full bar. Bring your crew, place your bets, and pile your plate high. This is how Sundays were meant to be.
Well, happy Monday morning here from the Palm Beach Kennel Club on 1111 North Congress Avenue. I'm not Mike Jameson, but I am pretending to be him today. I have the task of being the moderator, if you will, for our PBKC Picks special Christmas edition. And I'm here joined by someone I consider my friend and my boss, and the president of PBKC, Pat Rooney Jr. How you doing today?
No, nothing against you. But,
yeah. No, okay.
Listen, no Mike, no Jake. I have no hope that this is going to be a show.
Nope. Well, you know what?
No hope.
I've surprised you before. I'm going to surprise you again. I hope you're pleasantly surprised here today.
When they say SOL.
Something like that.
Absolutely.
Well, good morning
I
to you.
can't even hear myself in my mic.
No, I don't even know what's going on with that, so we're going to have to get with the producer on that.
Is it another mic?
It's a disaster. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get that addressed. But, Ernest, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ernest. I'm a dealer. And I host a podcast. And Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, well, so, all right. So, this is going to be,
Hello.
Hey,
there's the base right
Look,
there.
problem solving, Pat. I get it, but that's where I come in, where I can.
We're troubleshooting on the go. I like that.
Overcome hurdles. I'm a taskmaster. I get stuff done. So here we go. So
authentic show today.
Let's pay the bills first. So we have a couple of things we're going to do. We have the Feast in Football, and this is one of my favorite things. Mike talks about the way he does, but let's really just talk about it. It's $25. It's the best deal around. All the games are going to be on TV. We're winding into the playoffs. If you put a bet in, you get the buffet for free. And the buffet, I don't have the rundown of the food this time, but it's always all this amazing stuff that the chef makes over there. It's not like what you typically get at.
It's all heart healthy, really. I mean, if you look into it,
and
it's potato skins and nachos and hot dogs. And
nacho cheese is really top on the list for your cardiac health. So come over and get that heart attack special.
My God.
But if you make a bet, and we have this, and we're partnering with the Hard Rock Bet app, which everybody here on this panel likes to use and splash around, and it is fun. But if you make a $25 bet, you get that buffet for free. So come on in, stop in the Paddock, and enjoy both. Enjoy a little sports betting and the heart attacks stuff too.
Oh my God, Noah.
So all right, so we took care of that. We have a high hands. We want to run the high hands real quick. This is one of my favorites. Come in for the high hands because, I have to pack this place. My boss is sitting right here. So we have high hands coming through the Christmas week and all these specials. And just come in. We're giving away a ton of money. And these are the days where that room gets jamming. This week specifically, everybody comes in. And then the week after Christmas, when they have all grandma's money, they come in and fire that money off too. So come in and get some of that next week. And $15,000 cash giveaway on December 27th is the big one. All right, so now let's get to the fun stuff. So we had we'll start with the college football playoffs. We had a couple games. They were as advertised. Anything surprise you this week, Pat?
Now, let me just go on record and say I am just shocked that Tulane and James Madison just couldn't do something to pull out a win in either one of their games. It's just baffling to me that both of those teams just got hammered. All right, college football, NCAA. Are you happy? You got your two joke teams in there, and they got spanked, as expected. Can we please just use our logical brains and not put teams like that in a playoff? It's not feel good. It's not everybody gets a trophy. This is for the damn national championship, and we're putting in crappy teams because we want to make them feel good about being in a certain conference that we want to boost up, or whatever the logic is, which there isn't any. If I'm Notre Dame or I'm BYU or I'm Vanderbilt, I am absolutely steaming today after watching that debacle of both those games and both of those teams having no business being in there. Am I sugarcoating this enough?
No.
Ridiculous. Please, NCAA, do something next year so that we do not have to endure 27-point underdogs going, oh, David and Goliath, this is kind of no, this isn't the NCAA basketball tournament. It's not. Unless you want to put 65 teams in this thing, please give us the teams that have a chance to win a national championship. That's all I'm asking.
All right.
Tell us how I really feel, Pat. No, but seriously, it's the format, unfortunately, though, because the conferences are eligible, and that's the problem.
But the NCAA sets that format, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, even if you go to 16 teams, it's not gonna help, and that's the reality. I mean, we're gonna have. It's never gonna be perfect, unfortunately. 12 teams, 16 teams, 20 teams doesn't matter. It's gonna be an imperfect situation, and teams that should be there, like Notre Dame, like you mentioned, Vanderbilt and others, they should be there, and they're not because of the format. It stinks.
Yeah, not every conference is created equal, and that
No.
clearly is evident in this thing.
And even the major four conferences, we can make an argument for that. And hence why the ACC champion's not in there, but Miami is. You know what I'm saying? So there's parity in college football, but it's not parity in college football. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, like they should with youth sports. I know they let all these teams in the playoffs, but there's also a running clock. So you really want to stop this thing? That thing could have been over at halftime, and either of those games, that clock would have been running, and that thing would just be over, and everybody could go home. And we said it. There was no surprises here. There was absolutely no shocker.
I mean, A&M Miami, not a shocker, really. The way the game was played, I will say, is a little bit shocking. I mean, people saying all those scoring. I actually enjoyed that game. I thought that was a classic throwdown.
There was a wind
football
issue
game.
there, wasn't it windy?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, you had 4 missed field goals in the first half.
Yeah, so that played into it a lot. Can you bring up? Well, let's bring up the brackets and see where we're at now. So, all right, so we got the technicalities of the games added away, and now we're down to probably you would consider, Pat, would you consider these are the actual teams that should have been in?
Yeah, I mean, you might want to argue that Notre Dame should have at least had the chance to be in there, and maybe Vanderbilt. But, I have no problem with Miami beating Texas A&M. Miami's a legitimate team.
Absolutely.
You want to argue maybe they shouldn't have been in because they didn't win the conference. All that's fine. But I actually think the NCAA got this one right, picking a better team than Duke or Virginia. Yes. So I'm okay with that one. I think Miami can actually give Ohio State somewhat of a game. The game I'm really interested in is Ole Miss and Georgia. I think that's going to be a great game. Alabama and Indiana should be a really good game, as well as Texas Tech and Oregon. But I think the game, to me, that I really want to see is Georgia and Ole Miss, to see how Ole Miss still reacting to Kiffin leaving. And I think they lost to Georgia this year, but they beat them last year. So there's not quite a mystique with Ole Miss and Georgia in terms of we've never beaten this team or anything like that. And Georgia might have the argument that they might be the best team in the country right now. So I know Indiana's really good, Ohio State's really good, but this to me is I think this is the best game of those four.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually low-key rooting for Ole Miss because of the whole Lane Kiffin thing. Just to see how it plays out, and But this next set of the bracket's gonna be amazing. Cannot wait for New Year's Day. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm a Lane Kiffin fan, and I know he's polarizing. People love him or hate him. But I do think he's the definition of that team, and I am concerned. Okay, you could beat the Little Sisters married kids that are blind with anybody as a coach, you really could. But when you get down to the serious nuts and bolts where you got to go play Georgia, it would have been nice to have him in there. So you're not going to get the same product on the field. It's just not a thing. He was a head coach for a reason. So I would like to see them keep going, fight through. But I think Georgia's going to come on top on that one. But the game should be great. It should be exciting, and at least they'll be competitive. Are all the games played on the same day? All on?
Yes, I want to say yes.
Yeah, so we have that's just a jam.
What a slate.
Thursday, too. I'm
off.
Oh,
day before, So New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. No, it's actually
split again?
over 2 days. There's actually one New Year's Eve and then the rest of Miami and Ohio
State. It's like last week, same thing. Okay.
Yeah, Miami traveling up there and the weather. I don't know if that's gonna. And we'll see if it affects it, but it might. But all the games should be good. And
but there's also a lot of narratives in Ohio State Miami, because the last time they played in this meaningful game was the national title game from 2003 that Miami they got screwed by the officials.
Oh,
so there's a lot of little narratives in there.
Calling the officials, huh?
Yeah,
that's the way.
Well, it's classic. It's classic. So
all right, so that's a college football playoff bracket. We're excited for that.
Yes.
We have NFL news. All right, so we have some stuff that went on. Let's start right with the Steelers. The end of that game. And the way that played out, what do you think, Pat?
I mean, the people that have been listening to me on this podcast, I've been watching the Steelers for the better part of 50 years of my life, maybe a little longer. My first real memory in life is the Immaculate Reception game in 1972. So it goes back 50-plus years for me. This might be the wackiest team I've ever seen. We had a wacky team in 1989. We started out 0-2. We got creamed first two games. This was sort of getting towards the end of Chuck Noll's tenure. And then we somehow managed to win the last 3 games of the year. We sneak into the playoffs, and we beat Houston who creamed us in the first 2 games in the regular season that year. And Gary Anderson kicks like a 50-some-yard field goal, which in those days was like unheard of. And we beat Houston in Houston, and we go into Denver, and we almost upset John Elway in Denver. I think we missed an extra point or something crazy and lose by a point to them. This team has a similar vibe to that. It has more. It has better personnel than that team did. We were led by Bubby Brister back then. We have Aaron Rodgers now. It shows you the job that Chuck Noll actually did with that team. But this team, and I said this last week, whether they realize it or not, they have the best chance they've had in 15 years to get to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. All these other teams in the AFC, and to some extent a fair number in the NFC, are flawed in somewhat major ways. I mean, you've got Denver, New England, Jacksonville that are probably going to win their divisions that really haven't been there with these coaches and these quarterbacks ever. So you got these are new things for them, the division leaders. Then you got the wild card teams, which are going to be Buffalo, the Chargers, and probably Houston. And except for Buffalo, who is literally a one-man team at this point, all those other teams haven't either been there themselves or, they've got some question marks about, Justin Herbert getting into the playoffs and not being able to do anything. And Houston's just come from – they were 3-5 at one point, and now, probably are maybe
0-3
argument of being the best team in the AFC with their defense anyway. So my whole point about the Steelers is they have an opportunity here. I don't know if they know it. I don't know if they fully have grasped it yet, but they really have it because they're going to win. They're going to beat Cleveland. So the game against Baltimore, I don't think is even going to mean anything. Baltimore's going to lose to Green Bay, and so the last game isn't going to mean anything. Steelers will be able to rest some people before the playoffs. So when you have a guy have a touchdown against Baltimore and they say he didn't control it, and you have a guy, Kenneth Gainwell, who is on his back and doesn't even know where the ball is, hits him in his hand, and it stays there. Noah, that is weird stuff that doesn't happen in sports. Forget football. In sports, without something bizarre going on here. The Steelers looked absolutely dead 2 weeks ago against Buffalo. They quit. They gave up. And so, I have no idea what, because it's not like we just brought in, Ben Roethlisberger from 2010 or somebody onto the team. It's the same team that was 6-6 and looking helpless to all of a sudden they've won 3 in a row and they're right there. So that game was crazy, but I said it last week. Steelers have had success in Detroit. This isn't like Chicago. They play well there. Aaron Rodgers plays well there. It didn't surprise me at all that they beat them, but obviously the way they won in 2 offensive pass interference calls in the last 30 seconds when New England, sorry, Sully, used to do that all the time. That's how they won Super Bowls. You had pick plays all over the place, and that never got called. Poor Detroit gets 2 of them in 30 seconds. So whether it's kismet or luck or who knows what, opportunity meaning something, I have no idea. But right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a chance, and I would not have said that.
Yes. No, you wouldn't.
I would not have said that a couple of weeks ago, and I would not have said that in the last 10 years of watching them. And I have no idea why, because, again, it's the same personnel. They're playing without their best defensive player, T.J. Watt. So who knows? It's what drives you nuts about sports. And if you're betting these games, God bless you, because I have no idea how you would look at this game. When they were 7.5-point favorites, even I said that's way too much for the Steelers to be that kind of underdog, knowing the history with the Detroit Lions. But I don't know. I'm literally speechless. I have no idea what's going to happen.
And we got a reminder of that this week. Like we thought, so Denver's pulling away a little bit now. We've seen Denver last week play the most complete game of the season. Bo Nix came all together, and then they were reminded that, wait, Jacksonville's pretty good too also. So, again, to your point, we said weeks ago, we're entering a world now where the 2 favorites in the AFC the Ravens and the Chiefs
are done.
Are done. And that has now become a reality now as of week 16, or week 17 rather. So, I mean, that was a wacky game. It has a kind of feel, a team of destiny kind of feel to it also.
No.
Kind of reminds me of the 2005 Steelers too also, that won the Super Bowl. With the Bettis and company, where like they're a wild card team, they kind of got a lot of breaks, and then just kind of found their way into the Super Bowl and won the whole damn thing. So, I mean, look, it's all 7 teams that we get are live. As I said to you guys weeks ago, if Chiefs are gone, Ravens are gone, all 7 teams are alive to go to the Super Bowl. The Lions, I think the honeymoon's over with Dan Campbell. Not saying he's on the hot seat and all that stuff, but the whole going for a 4th down every darn time you have a chance to do that. It was cute 2 years ago. It was adorable last year. Now it's like, okay, you got to stop it now. Now it's borderline bad coaching now. It's malpractice now.
If you look at my tweets from 2 years ago, I think when he started these shenanigans, I was like, this is going to catch up, and it doesn't run.
Yeah.
I'm in the gambling industry, and I know all about it. And eventually, when you keep gambling, eventually you're going to lose. And when you lose in some of these games, it starts to pile up, and there's odds. And sometimes you convert, sometimes you don't. When you stop converting, when you're gambling, you start losing, and it comes in stacks. So it's a little surprising. The Steelers are surprising. You mentioned Kenny Gainwell. He's an ex-Eagle, and he was always one of my favorites. He just got the job done. Aaron Rodgers loves this kid, and he just makes plays, and he does some things. And even when he was signed there, I told some my friends that were Steelers fans, I said, you got a player here. Somehow he just converts when you need him to convert, and I know he's coming in there and making plays here and there, but those plays start stacking up. Now Pittsburgh's on the cusp. Home playoff game's already locked up, right, Pat? Are we locked in?
Yeah, I mean they're going to get the 4th seed, and like I said, the teams are going to play either Buffalo, Houston, or the Chargers. They play Buffalo and the Chargers. They lost to both of them. I actually think that helps you in the playoffs because now there's no surprises or anything. So the team they might not want to play is Houston because they don't know what they're getting with them. And Houston will probably come in with a lot less pressure on them because even though they're playing really well, they're still probably looked at as, hey, they're lucky to be there. But they're not. They're actually a really good team. So that team would probably scare me more than the Chargers or Buffalo, even though I think Buffalo is still the best team just because they've had some history, whereas all these other teams in the AFC have not. Like they're all new to it, or they're like Houston. They've all of a sudden just got some momentum and they're on a roll. So I again, if I'm the Steelers and you got a home game against one of those teams, you should feel pretty confident. I keep going back to it, Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame quarterback, that you should be able to come up with some kind of game plan to beat that team. Now, when you got to go on the road and play either Denver, New England, or even Jacksonville, that's a different question. But those games should still be, quote-unquote, winnable.
Absolutely.
Because you're not playing Tom Brady or John Elway. You're playing guys that haven't been there before. So good coach and good veteran quarterback should be able to scheme something to at least keep you in a game like that. So again, I go back to this is the best chance they've had to get back to the Super Bowl in 15 years.
And in fact, as back is in the AFC, I can argue right now, if we sit here week 17, that the most balanced team of the 7 teams in the playoffs currently right now isn't, formerly San Diego, of all 3 phases of the ball. So again, it's so wide open in the AFC right now. It's insane.
All right, are you back in or are you going to the game? Like the playoff game in
Who,
Pittsburgh?
Me?
Yeah,
I
have to.
I only go. I've only gone to if they make it to the AFC Championship game. That's the only game I've gone to. I don't go to the wild card or any of that other stuff. It's just too much of a zoo. Not that the AFC Championship isn't either, but that would be a good question if they made it. Depending on who they would be playing,
all right.
I'd have to think about it.
But there's a world that's Pat. But there's a world that I can see that playing out. That Steelers host the game because I can see the you can argue that the 3 wildcard teams right now are actually on level or better than the top 3 seeds.
Absolutely.
So, again, there's a world I can see that.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of hosting a home playoff game, the Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles, have clinched the division, NFC East, for the first time. They're a repeat division winner in like 20-something years. It hasn't happened, which is wild. All the other divisions seem to have these teams that run away for and stack those division titles together. What do you think? Where are we at with the Eagles, Pat? Give me your opinion.
I again, and a little bit on tonight. If San Fran goes into Indy and beats them, which I think they will now, I was sort of leaning towards maybe a feel good, and I think the feel good with Rivers might be over tonight. I'm really worried he might get killed tonight. So I think if San Fran goes in there, I think it'll start out like it was a good game, and then San Fran will just start pulling away. If that happens, I've said it in the beginning of the year. The San Fran 49ers were the one team I'd be worried about if I'm the Eagles. I think they could beat pretty much anybody else, even with all the flaws they got and question marks on offense and everything that's been said and done. They're still the reigning Super Bowl champs, and especially in a year like this, that has to mean a lot. So I still view the Eagles as a favorite, but I'm worried if San Fran gets on any kind of a roll at all, that they're going to be able to do some damage. Just playing in that division has made them really, super confident, I'm assuming. And they're not going to be afraid to go on the road against anybody. So that would be the only team that would really worry me if I'm the Eagles.
Yeah. I got to tell you, the Eagles, a lot of concerns, a couple weeks ago, the losing streak a little bit. But this, I know it's the Commanders, but again, it's a divisional game against a hated opponent on the road, and they took their business. To me, I think the Eagles are back now. And to your point of San Francisco, they have come to the quiet team in the NFC now. All of a sudden, like everybody's talking about Seattle, everybody's talking about obviously Philly and the Rams, but San Fran's beating the Rams already this year, for starters, and they are just as good as anybody on any given day in that conference. But I think the Eagles, there was something about that win that stood out for me. That it just. I told you guys last week. Like I got to see style points. I got to know they're back in the mix again. I got to see its team that's focused and that's the team I saw in the second half of that game. After I think they were down by maybe a score or whatever it was, but it was a close game in the first half. But they took their business when they had to. Jalen Hurts had a decent game, and I think the Eagles are back. And until you beat the team, beat the man, they're still my favorites from the NFC.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here, and San Fran would have to travel to Philly at some point, right?
Yes.
Okay, so. That's a whole different beast than being at home for that game. If you're talking about, and that would probably be the championship game most likely, I'm thinking, or even in the first round, it's going to be tough. You talk about style points. Jalen Hurts is catching all this heat for all these things, and then even when it gets quiet, it's not because he's playing good, even though he is playing very good. These are the most touchdowns he's thrown in a season in his career this season.
What's that now? What number?
It's 27 or 28.
Okay.
He's up there with everybody else, but he just can't get away from it. He was throwing that thing all over the place. A.J. Brown, 100-something yards, slinging the ball all over the place. They're changing their philosophy on his thing. He's getting confidence. That guy already doesn't give a damn what anybody thinks or how it goes on the field, but when he gets confidence going, look out. It's going to be a problem for the NFL. And I know I'm a homer. I get it. But when I also start looking at some of these other quarterbacks that I look at, that can't get over the hump and don't have that confidence or stoicism where they just go in there and play the game, they choke, for lack of a better word, in the playoffs. Now you have the Aaron Rodgers who doesn't. Brock Purdy, I mean, last time he traveled to Philly, he got absolutely destroyed, literally. So you wonder about the lineup, Sam Darnold's and all these other guys that, like, okay, you do have to worry about Stafford. Detroit's a non-issue now. So, yeah, I'm high on the Eagles right now. They're going to start resting some guys and getting creative with how that goes. And Pat mentioned last week, you have to balance that. If you start wrapping this stuff up, you don't want to get everybody rusty. Especially when you're rolling along.
Homer may be. I agree with you 100% because again, they have the requisite team. Jalen Hurts not only is a really solid. I'll say he's a great quarterback. He's the best personality to have for a team like playing in that city, okay? And he doesn't get rattled. He does not get rattled, and that's perfect for that team. So,
speaking of rattled, okay, we got to weigh in. So you talk about personality for a team. Is there anything going to come out of the Metcalf situation with him, like punching the blue hair fan guy? Like what?
I mean, when the Steelers traded for Metcalf and they're like, well, we're getting rid of George Pickens, who's a problem child, and he's got some issues with personality things, and I'm like, well, DK's got a record too, so it doesn't. I don't know why he was over there. Now, obviously, fans shouldn't be a-holes and yelling stuff to guys, especially personal things. Whatever this guy was saying about calling him his government name or whatever that thing was, I still don't understand that. So I understand as a human, you don't want to take any grief off of somebody, but at the same time, you're a professional athlete. And it looked like the sidelines to get over to where that guy was a walk. It wasn't like they were right there. He had to really go and seek this guy out. And that's where DK has to be mature and professional and understand I can't get myself suspended for a game or two, which might happen because I'm going to take a punch at a fan. It's stupid, and it's a shame.
I have a similar story to this. I once had to go to a table and make a floor call for a player, and I basically had to tell them they lost a hand. And as I'm walking away from the table, the guy says something about my mom. All right, so I'm walking away, and he said something about my mom, and it took everything. You know, I'm 30-something years old, and I want to keep my job. And I walk back over to the table calmly, and I say, "Sir, I'm sorry you feel that way about my mom. The ruling stands." And I left him there, and I walked away. But these are the things. You have the power. You have the power to do it. If you just ignore – when you start feeding into those things, you're giving it onus. And then
you're arguing with a guy that has a blue wig on,
like,
who's probably loaded. So you're not dealing with a rational person.
What are you trying to get
and
at?
You make more impact by this. To Noah's point, the example you had, like, because they want the attention. They want you to react. You know what I mean?
You can flip that thing.
Do what LeBron does, like call security. Hey, he's out.
Yeah, out.
I could do that too. So, right. All right. So we had the Ravens took an L, and even Sully, the Patriots fan, he said he fell asleep, and I don't know how you do that with your team in that game. But Lamar gets banged up again, and a player's best ability is availability.
Yes.
And he's been struggling with this.
Yep.
Did you see that one, Pat? Did you stay awake for the
I
whole
watched.
thing?
I watched a good chunk of it. It was 24-13, and in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, I'm going to watch one more drive by the Patriots. As long as they don't score, I think the Ravens will win the game. They're up by 11 with 10 minutes to go. Drake May marches them right down the field, scores. They get the 2-point conversion. I'm like, yep, they're going to lose this game. Yep. And much as there's a feeling around the Steelers now that they're going to find ways to win, guys laying on their back and the ball hitting them in the hand and he's catching it, the Ravens are going to find ways to lose. Derrick Henry fumbling again when they're driving is just unbelievable to me. That the guy's a stud in every other facet of the game as a running back, and in that situation, veteran that he is, the guys are going to be poking at the ball and all that, and that just killed the momentum early on for Baltimore that might have been able to use to put that game away early. Instead, they choke it up there, and then New England scores. So I don't, like I said, I don't think the Ravens are doing anything. They're going to get beat by Green Bay, and then the game against the Steelers, I think, is just going to be meaningless. But the bigger concern they have is Lamar Jackson. That play that he got hurt on, he looked like he just fell down, and they're saying it was some kind of a back injury. If he's got things going on with his back where, like I do, not at age 30 something, but where you just make a certain little movement and your back's out, that ain't good. So I know he's been dealing with knee and ankle and all kinds of issues this year, but he's way too young for a lot of this stuff to be happening. And if he doesn't have the mobility going forward, I think his career might be in jeopardy at this juncture. Not that he's done or anything like that, but this is what happens to guys that are really utilize their legs a lot. And if they can't utilize their legs, their shelf life becomes a lot less, becomes diminished a lot. So I like Lamar. He's a local guy from Royal Palm Beach, Boynton Beach, went to Louisville. I think he makes a great presentation of himself. He's not some goofball yelling and screaming up there all the time. So I actually, even though he plays for Baltimore, I want to see him do well. But if they don't have him, Tyrod Taylor or whoever else they want to bring in there is not the guy. So Baltimore is done, I think. So the Steelers, again, get very lucky in that division. Joe Burrow goes down. Cleveland is Cleveland, and Baltimore goes down. It's like, here's your Christmas present. Here you go. You guys are going to be the division champs. What are you going to do with this? So, it's just a shame for Baltimore because they had absolute Super Bowl aspirations this year, and they're not making the playoffs.
Right. Even during the winning streak when they were down 1-5, they came back and they got to 6-5. We speculated toward the end of that streak that he looked the same anyway, and maybe he had that issue before, and just that play may have tweaked what we already speculated about. But I want to talk about John Harbaugh. Because we talk about Mike Tomlin and should he get fired, not get fired. We got to put a focus on John Harbaugh. He's had some really, really questionable coaching in the last couple of years, really, getting back to the Apes title game 2 years ago against the Chiefs. You go up 24-13. I know Derrick Henry fumbled the ball early in the game, okay? But you're up 11 in the fourth quarter. Derrick Henry scores. And by the way, he's gashing the Patriots in the second half. He doesn't touch the ball a single time after that. What is that about? To me, that's borderline fireable, in my opinion. So yes, Lamar hurt, this and that, but the fact that you're not feeding the beast to Derrick Henry, who was your second best player on the team, is, to me, ludicrous, and they don't deserve to go to the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of times I see coaches, and I've been in those spots before, when something works they try to get creative for some reason and go against what works, and that's always a strange thing. Like, I once ran a play that was like the same play 15 times in a row where the other coach was yelling at me to run something different. Well, it doesn't matter. You just run it. If you can't stop it, who cares? And that's Derrick Henry, and they were doing that. Why would you change a thing? And you get creative and you do these things, and then you end up losing the game.
He's done that before, by the way. This is the first game they quit using Derrick Henry. He's done that last year. He did
this year a couple of times.
Just for whatever reason, they go away from that. And like you said, when your quarterback is out, you don't want to have your backup have to win you the game. He probably can't. The one guy that can, and especially use the clock and all that other stuff, is Derrick Henry. Why wouldn't you just keep feeding him and make them stack the box? And then if you have to, throw a little something over the middle or whatever. I'm sure Huntley could have done that, but you're right. It just doesn't make any sense, some of the coaching decisions that are made there.
Yeah, those are the offenses for coaches. I get it. You lose a game and you try to win it, but or maybe a decision that you think is rational is not, but something like that, and you start to, you're the owner of that team. You wake up, you're like, what are we doing? I expect that phone should ring, like literally should ring, like, why?
You had to win that game. You had to win that game.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's it. And you're up by 11 with 10 minutes to go. You got to win that game.
Having said that, though, can we talk about Drake maybe real quick, man?
Talk about him.
And I don't want to sit there and say he's Tom Brady. I know it's easy to throw the three narratives. It's cute and all that.
Yeah.
But I'm watching that fourth quarter, those last two drives. He has those Brady intangibles I saw years back in 2001, 2002.
It's earlier.
It's early. No, I'm not going to compare it.
All right.
But Drake, he does not. But he's a second-year quarterback. He does not get rattled.
Right.
He's in a tough environment against a team that needs to win a game. That's desperate for a win. And he goes in there and makes plays. And even when they got screwed on that PI, on the pass interference call they never called, in that last drive, he doesn't get rattled. He keeps his head down, and he got on the field, score. This kid is really good. He's definitely in an MVP conversation for me.
Whoa. Okay. Well, we're not ready for that one yet. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. So we had the Jags beating the Broncos, 34-20. Are the Jags contenders or pretenders?
Well, this goes back to my argument that the Steelers have a chance because everybody – how many games in a row? Denver won like 11 or something ridiculous like that. Mm-hmm. And Jacksonville has been one of these Jekyll and Hyde teams all year. They look good one week, and then they look awful another week. Now, they've started to get some momentum, and maybe Trevor Lawrence and that team are starting to gel a little bit. That was a really impressive win. To go into Denver with the thin air and all that other stuff and the winning streak, to go in there and win that game the way they did is super impressive. But Jacksonville, out of probably all the teams that have a chance, they're the one I would probably say would have to prove to me the most because they've just much like Detroit or Cleveland or Arizona, there's a cycle of psychological bad losses with that team, and that's not Trevor Lawrence's fault. But you just got to overcome a bunch of history of just bad luck, bad plays, bad play calling, whatever you want to say. That team, to me, is going to have to overcome a lot to get to the Super Bowl. They can do it. They have the talent, but they're going to have to overcome a whole lot of baggage that is not necessarily their fault. It's like the Atlanta Falcons or somebody else. Like I said, you might have the team, but you're wearing a certain uniform that has just been associated with losing and losing in bad ways and bizarre ways. Great win by them. But now, whoever they play this week, that's a crucial game because in Jacksonville's mind, it's like, all right, we made it. We did it. We beat Denver in Denver. That's it. We're ready to go now. And then watch them lose to whoever they play this week. So I need to see more out of them before I really start believing.
They play Indy. They should beat the Indy also.
They should. You're right.
No, this is the game we're looking forward to watching the most this weekend because of Denver, because Denver has shown all year long that they're definitely in the mix. But this is what I call a measuring stick game because the Jags are one of those teams, to me, in the league, like the Bears and other teams, that, okay, the record's good, but I got to see more. Like, sell me on this. Are you really this good? Are you really 10? Is 10-4 really legit? Because they're not all 10-4 teams created equal, of course. And you go in Denver against the hottest team in the league, and not only do you win, you blow them out, pretty much. It was a 2-score win. And Trevor Lawrence, he's really turned things around. Like, I want to go as far as call him a bust. But Trevor Lawrence this year has really turned that narrative around now. He's back to being what we all thought. Look, they got the one pick in the draft. We looked at him as a generational quarterback coming out of Clemson. He's now gotten back to what we thought he would be the year he got drafted by the Jaguars. So this is a huge game. And to boot, and you guys know I said this on the podcast some weeks ago, contenders to me, Super Bowl contenders to me are, do I see you playing in the conference title game this year? I do, because again, the AFC, as Pat said, it's wide open. All 7 teams are contenders because of that fact.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, if they had the in-season comeback player of the year, he could win that. He was so horrific. Early on in the season, we were like, they're a mess. We wrote him off. And then he's had 2 tremendous games, threw 6 touchdowns or whatever last week and then this week, and they're on fire. But if that's their definition, if they're going to say, okay, he's our definition, we're gonna have a gunslinger back there, and we're going to win some games, I think they can. And this could be his coming out party. They make the playoffs, and he gets a win. This could be the season. And again, it's wide open. It is literally, if you have a team and you're in the hunt now, you love this because there's no buzzsaws in your path that you're like, we can't get past those. You remember, all the great teams, there was always New England you had to get past, and then Kansas City you had to get past, which the Eagles actually did. And then you had, like, the Bulls that were always in the way and all these other teams that you just couldn't beat. It's not like that in the NFL now. It is wide open, and the Jags have a shot at this one.
He has a playoff win, too, so he has experience.
Yeah. So we have that one. Seahawks and the Rams. There's some bizarre stuff in
Thursday.
That one.
Yep.
That was bizarre. What do you think of that play? Like the 2-point?
Well, the 2-point, that's where the NFL has to – you can't have guys that think the play's over, and just because a guy picks the ball up and he happens to be in the end zone and they're like 10 minutes later, like, well, that guy, we're going to give that to him. He actually scored because it was a backward pass or whatever. You can't have that in the NFL. You cannot have something like that happen. Those guys have to be able to make a call very quickly, not when they're getting ready to kick off or whatever, and then be, hey, by the way, we're giving you guys 2 extra points. If I was the Rams, and I know they were angry about that, that could cost you number 1 seed, can cost you a lot of stuff because they don't know what the ruling should be. That kind of stuff can't happen in the NFL. I know it's a crazy, fast-paced game and everything else, like we saw at the end of the Steeler game, but man, the refs have to do a much better job of calling stuff. I think people can live with maybe the wrong call, but you've got to make something quick. You can't come back at 10 minutes later and be like, oh, by the way, the guy was in the end zone. The guy that just picked the ball up ends up scoring the 2 points. So that part to me is very distressing because it costs the Rams potentially a chance for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that play definitely changed the game and definitely tilted the game. But you also can't do
meltdown.
You know what we can't do? You can't blow a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter anyway.
Yeah,
so it goes back to the basics. You don't blow the lead first off, and start there. But my takeaway for this game still is that even with everything we saw in that game, the Rams are still better. Not against the Seahawks. The Rams are still better. Like if they play 10 times, the Rams win probably 6-7 games of that. So, and it's not a knock on Seattle, of course, but again, that may cost them the number 1 seed. Now, look at the schedule going forward. Seattle's schedule is still pretty tough. They play Carolina, who's in first place in the NFC South. Then you end the year against the Niners, who are still in the mix with number 1 seed, in fact, actually. So, and then the Rams' schedule to end the year is pretty cake. It's two non-playoff teams that they should win. So, it's not over yet. Thin margin, but it's not over yet. But this was by far the game of the year, given the stakes also, too.
Yeah, this was a critical game for both teams. And for that to play out like it did, you watch the ball travel backwards, bounces off the guy's helmet, flies forward, and then you're able to pick it up when there may or may not have been whistles. Everybody's standing around. A guy picks it up. We're like, touchdown. Are you advancing a fumble? Is it a backwards lateral? Is it an incomplete pass? There's a rule you can make there. You could simply do if there's any ball that's pitched backwards and it ends up going forwards, that it ends up being an incomplete pass or something, unless it's called or something, because it makes no sense to have a fumble go forward. And I think they're going to address it. I would think they would address it like that. If you're pitching it backwards and it flies forward, you can't have an advancement for a touchdown on that. Worst case, the defense could recover it, or you have an incomplete pass or something.
So it's a wrong. You're saying it's a wrong call. Period. In discussion.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario where you throw the ball backwards, it flies forwards. I get it's a lateral, but you're not allowed to advance a fumble, and they allowed them to, and they allowed it to be a score. It doesn't make sense. I would do. You can make a ruling if it's on the offense, you make an incomplete pass, and if it's recovered by the defense, you could just have a recovery, I guess. Or something creative. But that one, And you'll have these things, the anomalies with rulings. We've seen it in poker, Ernest, where you're like, I've never seen that one before, and you have to make a judgment call.
Yeah.
I think they botched that judgment call. The intention wasn't to run the play like that, and for them to get some obscure thing where the guy picks it up and everybody stands around, I don't know if you could award that on that. That wasn't the intention of what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I think we're more mad at the fact they slow rolled this whole thing. Everything else.
Right, like Pat said.
Yeah.
So the Bucks had a loss, and Faker Mayfield, this guy, he threw a horrific pick, and I got it on my high. I'm like watching on replay. This was god awful. He's trying to drive down the field. He just botches it. What do you think, Pat?
Well, I looked at that play, and I think it was to Mike Evans, wasn't it? Or supposed to be. Now, again, I am not sophisticated enough to know all the signals that these guys are able to, pick up out of the corner of their eye, and he wants the guy to go outside instead of inside, and he went inside. I just hate the fact that you're throwing to a spot. And, again, this is from a naive, person just watching the game. I get it's a super intricate game, and you're trying to throw it before the guy makes the turn so that the window is open just enough because the D-backs are so good. But in that situation, I'm assuming that Carolina is kind of giving them some yardage there. Do you have to run that type of a play where if the worst case scenario is if the guy doesn't get the signal or runs the wrong route or whatever, you're throwing it right to somebody else. It's not that I'm absolving Baker Mayfield of anything. He threw the pass. But I don't know if Mike Evans didn't run the right pattern there. My whole question, though, is why are you calling that type of play? Just take the dink and dunk stuff and get down the field, try and kick a field goal or whatever. I don't even know what the scenario is. But don't run. This reminded me so much of Neil O'Donnell when the Steelers played the Cowboys in the Super Bowl in 1995. He threw 3 balls to spots, which drives me out of my mind, and Larry Brown intercepted 2 of them. And I'm like, what are we running plays like that for? Just, they're giving you some stuff. And again, the downside of a play like that is if it's wrong or somebody misreads you're going to lose. So that's the frustrating part for me. I'm not, again, absolving Baker of anything. He's got to start playing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about this guy being MVP when they were 7-2 or whatever, and now they've cratered.
Speak for yourself.
But I will say this. I will absolutely say this. That game likely will still mean something against Carolina. Would it shock you guys at all if Tampa, out of some bizarre thing, played really good and blew them out and won the division now? No. So I'm not putting them in the grave just yet. But, man, they got to get stuff right here next week and then see if they can beat Carolina in the last week of the season.
Yeah, and Carolina plays Seattle next week for the record. So there you go.
It's gonna be a tough
that's
game.
definitely in play. We're 17 weeks of the year, and I still don't know how good Carolina is. I really don't know. I don't think they're that good. They're not special. Bryce Young's still tiny. They're just making plays. To me, the bigger takeaway here is more about the Bucs' meltdown here. And I know they had a lot of injuries in the middle of the year, and we got all that, but you got to find ways to win games now. We were looking at this team as a Super Bowl contender at one point, week 7, week 6, and it's mind-boggling. But here's the thing. They're still in it because Carolina's last 2 games, as I said, they play Seattle next week, which they're probably going to lose because Seattle still needs that game, and then they play Tampa again. So if Tampa takes their business next week and then they beat Carolina week 18, they should win the division. But we'll see. I mean, it's the meltdown is really bad here. I'm really curious. Todd Bowles has been a solid coach of Tampa, but is this the end of the road for him? Because he has been taking a lot of blame for the last couple losses now, especially the one against Atlanta last week on Thursday Night Football. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, Baker's terrible, and he's melting down, and he has too much to say. So
and you love it.
When you're playing good and you have a lot to say, it goes fine. When you have a lot to say and you play like you are now, it doesn't go over well. And,
we also hold him accountable, though. He's at least one of those guys who holds him accountable for that.
Yeah, he should. I'm holding him accountable too. So the last game we had the Bears and the Packers. That was a classic.
Well, the Bears are another one of these just bizarre stuff seems to be happening for them. Now, again, sometimes teams like this get into the playoffs and then they get hammered. All the good things that were happening, the weird turnovers, running back kicks, and all that ends, and they just get absolutely plastered by somebody. And that might happen to the Bears. But, man, they're doing things they need to do to find ways to win. I think Caleb Williams is you want to talk about most improved, I would absolutely say he's in the conversation if that isn't even an award. But man, they just find ways to win, and very similar to that team we've mentioned them before, the Rex Grossman team in 2006 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's correct.
They are, but man, they find ways to win. So could they get to the Super Bowl? Yeah, they might be able to finagle their way in there, but I think at some point. They're not ready quite to take the step to be Super Bowl champs. Somebody is going to beat them in a game that really matters, but you got to give them credit. They're finding ways to win.
Well, they win the games They win the games this year that they lost last year. People forget they started the year. I think they were 4-2, and they were a Hail Mary away from being 5-2 against the Commanders, and then that Hail Mary propelled them to lose 10 straight games after that. So they're winning the games now they lost last year. Again, they're like the Jaguars for me and these other teams that I don't know how good they are. They're a solid team, 11-4 now. I mean, the record is what it is, but
it's pretty good.
I mean, are they a Super Bowl contender? In my opinion, no. They're not better than Philadelphia. I know they beat Philadelphia. They play again. Philadelphia wins that game. Okay, They're not better than the Rams. They're, to me, not better than the Seahawks. To me, not better than San Francisco. And so look at all those things there. I have questions still. I mean, the Packers also didn't have Jordan Love for half that game. So, and they had to pull a lot of things had to happen in that game for them to come back. They were down 16-3, I think it was. Yeah, but the onside kick.
That's allowed to happen. Pat mentioned earlier with Pittsburgh, it's happening and it's in your favor. And when those things start, the Eagles one time to double doink and all this other weird stuff, and all of a sudden now you're in a Super Bowl.
But you can't rely on that to win Super Bowls,
but it perpetuates itself, and then all of a sudden guys are making plays that they're not supposed to make, and you're wondering, how is this even happening? And all of a sudden now you're in a Super Bowl, and yeah, Chicago is kind of setting that trend. On the other side, we have the Packers, and they're absolutely beat up in injuries, and we're going to go over a couple that I have for this week. And Green Bay lost their tight end, another tight end, so now
another tight end,
end. Lamar has that back injury that we mentioned. We don't know how that's going to weigh things out or if it's even going to matter coming down the stretch. Judkins, he blew his leg out. Some people like to call it a hospital ball that he was throwing, but that was just an awkward literally he throw and he has to stretch out on an outback pass and the guy just destroys his leg. It's a terrible. Gardner Minshew, the Minshew magic is done. He tore his ACL, it looks like, in Kansas City, so Blake has no starting quarterback anymore.
Who's the first stringer that came in?
I think it's the guy the Steelers actually had, this I can't even say his last name. It's like Ala Kawanda.
Pat, we have a quarterback problem in the league right now. Again, the fact that Phillip Rivers is starting on Monday Night Football tonight tells you that.
Absolutely.
And I don't get into top of that now. It's ridiculous.
I agree with you.
Yeah, and then the backup Malik came in as a backup for Green Bay, and he went down too.
He got hurt also. I missed everything
with his shoulder injury, so I don't even know who the third stringer in Green Bay is. But yeah, we're starting to dig deep.
But call Don Mikowski or something.
Yeah, so you got to start looking at now the teams and this is where I'm going to tell you that something's going to happen in Philadelphia with our backup McKee Tanner.
Yes.
He's the big body quarterback. There's going to be guys, and there's a few of them out there. This is where a spot where Tua could get retreaded. We didn't even talk about the Dolphin game and that whole nightmare, but he's on the bench. You could get a retread. The way the quarterback situation is going, somebody's going to be like, yeah, let's go get that guy Tua. And they're making a huge mistake too, just like the people did with Carson Wentz or whatever.
They have a choice.
And they don't have a choice. Yeah, you're right. So we're going to get right into next is our picks. We're going to do our picks. Yeah, let's go ahead and do our picks. Ooh. Yeah, Mike's usually doing here. All right, so we're doing okay for time. We're rolling along pretty good. We got the 11:15. We're trying to get it all in by then. All right, let's start out. A game that means nothing because the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the NFC East. Dallas at the Washington Commanders. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a shame for the NFL because you're going to have – I think in both conferences for the most part, except for Tampa and Carolina, all the playoff teams are fairly set. Like there's not going to be – they're not going to have like that Sunday night game the last week, and it's going to be unless it's Tampa and Carolina, and that's going to be 2 8-8 teams or whatever. But, there's going to be a ton of really – teams that are out of it these next 2 weeks, which is a shame. This game is one of them. I would go venue picks for these games where they're meaningless, just because you're traveling, and if Washington can do anything, Dallas will just be like, all right, let's pack our bags and get out of here and finish off this season. So any of these games like this, I would just take the home team. I'm going to take Washington.
Yeah, same here. Like, I was telling my wife last night too. Also, this to me, this might be the cleanest playoff bracket we've seen with so many weeks left in the year. Normally, it's a lot more chaos. All we have now is seeding to figure out now. Right. Like, there's a little bit of wild card stuff going on in the NFC, sort of, really. Detroit, Green Bay, maybe, but I mean, but it's other than that, it's a seeding at this point, and it's kind of boring, actually, to be honest with you. So, give me Washington. My bet is dead, too, on top of that, because they lost to the Chargers also. So, screw Dallas. Give me Washington.
So, we're only in – the reason why that is we're only into what are we, in the third year of 17-week schedule?
Yeah,
or second
third year.
So, we haven't run into this yet, but this was going to happen. And if they go to 18, you're really going to see it, because you have enough time to settle those bets, if you will, before you even get to the last couple weeks, to where, you know, the cream rises to the top and everything's separated. If you had a 5-week season, everybody you're scrambling or whatever, but it's not the case anymore because the season is so long. So you're going to have it, and then you want to talk. I mean, like, again, the Eagles have wrapped their stuff up with a couple weeks to go, and who knows who they're going to play, and it has fantasy football impacts. But on this one, I don't know. I don't even care. Like, maybe Dallas, maybe like Dak will get some stats to put on his resume, but other than that, this might Merry Christmas, everybody.
Can I say real quick? This might be the first year in 3 years where the NBA might get back Christmas now for once, because all the Christmas games this year stink.
Yeah.
Look at the next one.
The product's still better. People are still
the product's still better, but there are a lot more meaningful games in the NBA this week than they are in the NFL.
All right, so this next one has a little bit of meaning. Detroit hanging on, Minnesota not so much. They lost their quarterback. That was another injury. They lost their quarterback this week to hand injury. Minnesota did. Detroit at Minnesota, what do you think?
Yeah, I just think the Lions are done. I think it's going to be too tough for them to summon up anything. Minnesota's okay. I don't even know who their backup is at this juncture. But
Bruce Sells, what his name is? He came in against my team yesterday. So I'm going to go, again, a home pick here. I do want to say I feel horrible for the Detroit fans, because they did have a legitimate team the last 3 years, and injuries last year and bad luck, or whatever you want to call it, in the NFC Championship game 2 years ago when they had the big lead. This was their chance, their window, and I think it might be over. So, hopefully they can get somebody back, whether it's a coach, quarterback, whatever. But they have talent on that team. There's some really good offensive players on that team. And defensive players too, but injuries and maybe bad coaching or whatever you want to say, or just the fact that it's Detroit, they just can't seem to get out of their own way. And again, you say that about Cleveland and Arizona and maybe even Atlanta, but this is one of those teams that they had a shot, and I think that window's closed. So I'm taking Minnesota. Yeah, shout out to Minnesota's defense yesterday too. Also, Brian Flores coached up a gem yesterday against the Giants. But having said that, though, I think Detroit has one more in them. Because especially if they have a quarterback, I mean, I'll take Detroit in this one just because they're desperate. But are they done overall for the playoffs? I mean, they got to win out. The Packers is not a guarantee because all these injuries. It was Love playing this Saturday against the Ravens? We don't know. It's live, but we'll see. But I'll take Detroit out of desperation. Minnesota's, they may have that backup again this week, so who knows?
Yeah, I look at Detroit as a coaching philosophy thing. So there's different ways to coach. You could be the player's coach. You could be the hype guy. Dan Campbell's the hype guy, and he gets everybody hype. And then you have just the methodical coach, the Bill checks, who everything's just these are the standards and these are what we do. Very regimented, and he's not buddy with everybody. And he doesn't rely on energy from outside sources like hype and all that stuff. I think Detroit's a victim of this. I think when you have that hype and you're rolling, you could ride that thing to the end. I think New England's doing that a little bit right now. I think you've seen teams do that. When that goes away, there's nothing left. When it starts falling, the wheels start falling off. And if you had a regimented team, like, Pittsburgh kind of falls in that category. They don't rely on that stuff. They don't rely on hype and all this other stuff and good feelings, where it's just nuts and bolts in football, and this is what we do, this is our product. I think Detroit has lost that. It was great when it goes, and you could ride that thing, energy and positive mojo. You see guys run through a brick wall. They're not running through a brick wall anymore. That's gone. They've lost hope, and this is what happens.
But I also think, too, to what I said before the year started, and predicted this. They regressed because they lost both the coordinators.
Right.
But it's how bad they've been, really. It's
Philly did that too. They made
and they took a step back for 1 year, and they recovered.
Right. So yeah, I'm going to go with Detroit here, but I don't think they have a chance moving forward. All right. So this game was supposed to be amazing. If you told me the Broncos were like 11-3 or whatever they are now, or 4, and they were playing Kansas City, like this is for everything. This is a big game. It's not. Like Kansas City's terrible. It's not like you would think it is. So Denver at Kansas City.
Yeah.
No quarterback.
Another game, I think Kansas City has a little bit of pride, but if you don't have a quarterback, unless Andy Reid's just going to run the wing tee or something. And I know Denver's probably going to be down a little bit after that loss, but if this game was in Denver, I'd predict a foot stomping on this one. But being in Kansas City, I think Kansas City at least tries to keep this game close, but Denver should end up winning it going away. But maybe it's close for a little bit, but once Denver gets their bearings, I think they win this game.
This is my point about Christmas games. Like other than Denver seeding and holding that number 1 seed, and then the second game we mentioned a little while ago was Detroit trying to stay in the mix. These games are relatively nothing burgers, really. Mm-hmm. Denver should win this game. Who's the quarterback for the Chiefs next week? We don't know. So, things have really fallen apart in Kansas City. So Denver should win. Denver needs this game. First of all, Denver needs this game to stay ahead of New England in the race for number 1 seed. So, give me Denver.
Yeah, who's the last good quarterback before Patty Mahomes? I can't even think. They had a couple.
Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Steve DeBerg.
Yeah, put DeBerg. Maybe DeBerg will come out and play in this one to get it bouncing back here. All right, so I'm going to go with Denver on that one. I think Kansas City's struggling, but those are snoozers for Christmas. It's a little disappointing. All right, so Houston Texans at Los Angeles Chargers.
This should be a really good game. This is one of them. I'm going to take a venue pick here. Chargers, I think, at home should win. I don't know what Houston was going on with the Vegas. They almost blew that game.
Right?
But again, weird things happen. I've said this. Weird things happen in the NFL, especially the last couple of weeks of the year. You fall asleep against somebody, and all of a sudden they're going to beat you. So the good thing is for Houston, they won the game. That's all you got to do. Get through the wacky games like that and win them. But I think this is going to be a lot to ask them to go on the road and beat the Chargers in L.A. I'm going to take the Chargers here, but I think it's going to be a very good competitive game.
I'm so glad I didn't take Houston minus 14 yesterday. Thank God. Stay away from those big spreads. But this is a rematch from last year's playoff game. Mm-hmm. Not for nothing. There's a little bit of that. 2 playoff teams that, who knows, could meet in the future. I don't know. I'll take the Chargers here because they're at home. And not for nothing, they're playing very good football right now. Like, no one's talking about it right now. But Herbert's playing very, very well. Defense is solid again. They're getting healthy. Nothing against Houston. I just think, the venue pick, I'll take the venue pick here for Chargers.
Yeah, I think the venue's overrated in Los Angeles.
That's true.
It is. I agree with you on that, but I still think it's something.
Yeah. You don't have to get at it, but you wake up in your own bed and you get to roll over to the stadium. It does make a difference. We all know that, right? We've seen that everywhere. But I'm going to go with Los Angeles. Yeah, I am. Houston's defense is supposed to be spectacular. They weren't over the top against
they played down the opponent a little bit.
Yeah, they played down a little bit, but I'm going to go with the Chargers on this one. All right, so we have Baltimore and the Green Bay Packers. This could be it for Baltimore.
These are 2 teams that are sort of just trying to find their way at this juncture. Again, Green Bay being in Green Bay, I got to give them the edge here. I'm concerned, especially if Lamar doesn't play, which he might not, that Baltimore just might give up the ghost here and really get hammered, which would be very uncharacteristic of them. They do have a lot of pride on that team, but I just feel like the air was let out of them, a couple weeks ago against Pittsburgh. They did beat Cleveland, but I don't really count that much. And that game they absolutely had to have yesterday against the Patriots, and were winning by 11 with 10 minutes to go, and you can't do it. Man, that's hard to then get up, go on the road, and play a really tough venue anyway. I think Green Bay gets it right here and beats them, and I'm worried Baltimore might actually get blown out in this one.
This is definitely an injury report game because Love and Lamar could both miss this game, possibly. We will see what happens out there. But, again, both teams going the wrong direction right now. Green Bay's injuries, Baltimore, obviously, their issues. I'll take the Packers just because of the fact they're at home, number 1, and number 2. I don't trust John Harbaugh. I'm out on John Harbaugh right now. I really am.
Yeah, I'll take, because it's 8 o'clock on a Saturday in December in the evening at Green Bay, I'm going Green Bay on that. I think a lot plays into that, believe it or not. All right, we got the Bucs at Miami. Miami stinks, and Baker's trying to get back on track here.
Wow, this is actually an interesting game from just the standpoint. Can Tampa beat what's going to be a really bad Miami last couple games here? Because, they did their best. They fought through like an easy part of their schedule and won 4 games in a row, but now they sort of have reclaimed their identity of being a bad team. And I'm sure Tua's not going to play. Quinn Ewers, what didn't impress me at all. I'm surprised they didn't play Zach Wilson at all.
He was too. He was surprised.
So if they do play him this week, I give them a little bit of a shot. I don't think he's great either, but he's better than Ewers at this juncture. Tampa has to win this game. I mean, I know we've been saying that. They lost to the Saints. They lost to a bunch of teams they should not have lost to. Yep. But at some point, like I said, things seem to find their way back. I just don't think Tampa's going to lose out and just be horrible. So I'm going to take Tampa here, but it's by the thinnest of margins.
I mean, Tampa's going to break this week. They lost to Carolina, which is a huge loss, obviously, but they're getting a break. You're playing the Dolphins. You should win that game. Carolina's playing Seattle this week. Seattle should win that game because not only is Seattle's better, they need that game anyway to secure number 1 seed. So you're going to get another break and another opportunity to crack Carolina in week 18. Take your business here. Give me the Buccaneers.
Yeah, this is similar to when Philly got the Raiders as a get-right game, and they got right. Yeah. Tampa needs to have it, and it might even be too late. They've lost some stinkers, and they're in a hunt, and they can't be feeling. And even if you come out with a victory here, I don't know if you walk out of there with a ton of confidence. You beat a team that really is struggling horrendously. But, yeah, this one's going to get away in a hurry. I'm going with Tampa Bay on that one. Pittsburgh Steelers and Cleveland Browns.
This has been a house of horrors for the Steelers for the last few years. Here's my prediction on this game. If Baltimore somehow wins that game against Green Bay on Saturday, the Steelers will lose this game.
Really?
Absolutely. If Baltimore wins that game and the pressure's on the Steelers to have to win this game, they will find a way to lose. They'll quickly revert back to, we don't know what we're doing. We're taking idiot penalties and all that other kind of stuff. However, if Baltimore loses, which I think they will, and this game is meaningless, the Steelers will probably win because there's no pressure. Shador is Shador. He makes great plays at some parts, and then he does some things completely boneheaded the next play, which is what you get out of a lot of rookie quarterbacks. So I think my pick on this game is contingent upon whether Baltimore wins or not. Because I think Baltimore is going to lose, I'm going to take the Steelers in this game. But if Baltimore wins, watch out. Then the pressure's on, and the Steelers have to win this game. And you watch Shador look like the second coming of Brian Sipe in 1980. So.
I mean, Cleveland, they were in the game against Buffalo. They had a chance to win that game yesterday. I mean,
now if you're going to do it, now's the time.
I'm not.
Now's the time.
They're sometimes frisky. Sometimes they are.
Right. And Myles Garrett's going to be going for the record here. So.
And there's also the added element of the rivalry. Yeah. These teams hate each other.
They do.
So
there's no love. Yeah, helmets being swung a whole bit.
The Steelers have found something now. Obviously, DK probably be spending for this game also.
No Judkins.
Judkins out for this game too also. I think Pittsburgh will find a way. I think they smell blood, and I think they're that closer to winning the division. So give me the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Steelers. Aaron Rodgers looks sharp right now. He looks like he's having fun out there. He had one play. I don't know if he called it himself, but he looked back at the sideline. And he nodded his head like, "See, I told you." So who knows what's going on in Pittsburgh? Whatever it is working. All right, for time's sake, we're going to skip a couple of the stinker games. So if you work with me, Sully, we're going to skip to Arizona. We'll get back to that. We're doing quick picks. That game's meaningless. Jacksonville Jaguars and Indianapolis Colts is not. What do we think?
Yeah, I think it depends on what happens tonight. If Indianapolis loses tonight, and especially if they lose sort of badly, I think they're done. I do think they're done anyway, but this is where Jacksonville, they got to keep proving it. So if they go in against a team that really has nothing to play for in a hostile environment, they which is normally a hostile environment for them, this is a game they got to win. Doesn't have to be a blowout. Doesn't have to be some statement. Just find a way to win. If it's 16-13, get it and get out of there. I'm taking Jacksonville, but it is predicated on the Colts losing tonight, which I think they will.
Yeah, same here. Jacksonville also, and obviously the Colts lose tonight. If Rivers even survives, like you say, you may get murdered. Like, who knows? So give me Jacksonville winning. Again, another game that I want to see. Okay, now you can be a good team. Now can you be a relatively struggling team in this trek to the playoffs? So give me the Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm going. Let Trevor Lawrence sling that thing around. Yeah. I'm going with them. I think they have good momentum. All right, another game that's important: Seattle Seahawks and Carolina Panthers.
Huge game. Yeah, big game. And Seattle's played well on the road this year, even on the East Coast. But something about, like you're talking about, Ernest, Carolina's just a weird zombie team that makes plays and wins games. I'm actually taking Carolina here. There's no logical, real reason to do it, but I feel like now that the gods are coalescing against Baker Mayfield, and I think that Tampa will probably win that game, but then Carolina wins this game. And the last game of the year will still mean something, but I just feel like Seattle will probably blow a game here at some point, and this might be it.
I mean, can I see it playing out? Absolutely. Seattle needs this game though, because because the Rams will win out, and if Seattle slips in one time, Rams back in number 1 seed again, just like that. So I think Seattle will answer the call. I think they will win this game. I watched Carolina. I'm like, I don't get it. You have 8 wins. I don't get it. So give me Seattle.
Yeah, Carolina has a meaningful game in December at home at this stage. It's wild.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Sam Darnold effect to kick in, where he has the absolute disaster of a game. I think this may be the one.
He was close last week, though, remember? In the first half.
I'm going Carolina in this one. All right, we're going to skip a couple here. The Patriots and Jets, the Saints and Titans. We'll get to that in quick picks. Giants and Raiders is horrific.
Raiders for number 1 pick, though. That's huge. Number 1 pick
horrific.
on the line.
All right. Philadelphia Eagles at Buffalo Bills. The Eagles already basically are locked in probably at the 3. What do we think?
Yeah, I think just because the Eagles are locked in. Again, teams when they don't have any pressure on them sometimes really play well because they're very loose and there's no expectations, and guys get to play that don't necessarily always get to play, and all these guys are good players. So, you can't have a guy that's sort of an unknown, have a great game. I don't see that this game, though. I think Buffalo knows they need to win this game to have any kind of a chance, potentially still at the division. But I'm taking Buffalo. If the Eagles needed this game, though, this would be a heck of a game. I really would love to see if the Eagles still needed this game. But because they don't, I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, I won't be surprised to see Sirianni starts benching guys early, limiting minutes and stuff in this game. Yeah. And because of the nature of the situations in Buffalo needs this game, of course, stay with the Patriots in the division. I'll take the Bills because of that. If this game meant something, though, honestly, I take the Eagles because I don't trust the Bills outside of Josh Allen. So give me the Bills though for this.
Yeah,
game.
I'm cranky about this game. This was supposed to be my kid's birthday trip to Buffalo for her to root for Josh Allen, me root for the Eagles, and but her mom decided to steal her way to England or something for Christmas. So we're gonna be skipping that. But anyway, happy birthday today, Haley. As a shout out to you. It's 18 years old. I'm off the hook now.
Oh, it's over. That's it.
Yeah, I gotta go get off the child support direct deposit. Well, as soon as we get done here. Anyway,
God bless
happy
you.
birthday, kid. I can't get away. I don't think Philly's going to play their guys, but I'm never going to pick against Philly. I'm going to take Philly here. Yeah. We have a couple left. Chicago Bears
Huge
and
game.
San Fran 49ers.
All right, Chicago, this is it. Mm-hmm. You want to prove something to me? You've won. You beat Pittsburgh. You've won in Philadelphia. This would be the game. If the Chicago Bears win this game, I'm going to be an official believer that they can win the Super Bowl this year. Oh. That's a huge undertaking to go into San Fran and win. I'm going to take the Bears here until something proves me different. They're just one of those teams that seems to be on a roll, and teams are taking them lightly or whatever's going on. And I like the job that Ben Johnson's doing. So I think he'll find a way to out-scheme Shanahan and that crew, which is saying something. But this could be a really, really good game.
I mean, obviously tonight's game is going to say a lot because obviously make sure certain players survive this week. Number one. But, yeah, I'm with you, pal, on this one in the sense that, okay, and granted, I feel bad saying this because, they did beat Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. They have won some decent games they should have. But, again, it doesn't feel like, okay, but are you really – is this really you guys? This is the week I'm going to find out. Because if you win this game in San Francisco, let's say San Fran wins tonight, blowout fashion, they're all healthy, they're at home, they're still chasing number 1 seed, even the division right now because they're only one game back of the Rams and Seahawks. And you walk into Santa Clara and you win that game against San Francisco, now I'm believing in you, and now I'm looking at Ben Johnson's coach of the year now. So give me Chicago.
Absolutely.
I'll take Chicago.
And you look at the same thing from San Fran. Chicago comes in and beats you at home on Sunday night as you're headed into the playoffs. You got to start looking at yourself in the mirror. There's playoff games and there's pretty close to playoff games. This is a pretty close to one where you're like, okay, this is a defining moment in our season. I'm going to go with San Fran at home just because of home field advantage.
This is an easy game of the week. Easily.
Yeah, that's easy. So, all right. So we're going to hit the fantasy football. So there's only 4 teams left in this thing. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. And there's stuff to be played tonight, I believe.
Joey against who?
Yeah. Oh, that was actually last week. So that was the last one where I actually had a debacle. So we don't have it. Do we click off that one and the one right above it, if you would?
Well, we wouldn't know yet because tonight's game's still
there's still
live, right?
stuff pending, but they do have the updated. They don't have the updated, but May the Force and Tomlin and Mr. Crinkle and the Steelers, those games are pending. So we don't have the full results in, but you could still do some stardom, sit 'em for these things. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do mine real quick. Anything? The only thing Miami has left is a running back. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with A-Chain as my stardom. And sit-em is really comes down to watch the playoff teams and pay attention. You really got to drill it down this week. This is where it gets dicey. Drill it down and figure out what you got to sit. But this is the week, so start sorting that out. Like, you got to pay attention to playoff situation, or you're going to be left down in the cold.
I'd start Drake May. I think he's going to have a really good game against the Jets. And I would sit the Baltimore Raven defense. I think they're done.
That's interesting. I will start Dak Prescott against Washington just because whatever. They're going to play. And I'll sit Jared Goff against Minnesota's defense. But Brian Flores is he may have another job very soon, pending that lawsuit, of course. But, yeah.
Yeah, playoffs. That's so I focus on playoffs this time of year, and then the injuries obviously are a big deal. Waiver wire and scrap heap and all that stuff. So, all right, here's our favorite portion of the game of the program is the quick picks. We're going to break the record here. We have to. Let's go ahead and rip them off in a furious fashion. Dallas Cowboys or Washington Commanders?
Washington.
Commanders.
Yeah, I'm going with Commanders at home. Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings.
I'm taking the Vikings.
Take the Lions in desperation.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Lions and get one more hype win out of them. Denver Broncos at Kansas City.
Denver, Kansas City's done.
Yeah, Denver in a blowout.
Yeah, Kansas City does not have the firepower. I'm going to go with Denver. Houston Texans, Los Angeles Chargers. Big game.
Yeah, I'm taking Chargers just because it's a home game, even though it doesn't necessarily mean much. But I like the way the Chargers are playing right now.
Chargers in a playoff rematch.
Yeah, I like Herbert in this one. Baltimore Ravens, Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I'm taking Green Bay.
Yeah, Baltimore's done. Give Green Bay.
Yeah, Lambeau at this time of year, I'm going with them. Green Bay. Tampa Bay Bucks, Miami Dolphins.
Taking Tampa, but don't be surprised if Miami gives them a game.
Oh no, Tampa, because Miami has no quarterbacks on that roster.
I'm glad I'm not going to these anymore. I'm going with Tampa here. Pittsburgh Steelers at Cleveland Browns.
Pittsburgh if Baltimore loses. Cleveland if Baltimore wins.
Frisky as they may be, I'm still taking the Steelers, though.
Stipulations. I'm going with the Steelers here. I like Aaron Rodgers the way he's playing right now. Arizona, snoozer, Arizona and Cincinnati.
I'm taking Cincy. I still think they're playing with some pride. But Arizona with Brissett, they put up some points too. So this could be whatever the over-under is, I take the over.
I'll watch this game just because of Burrow. That's about it.
Yeah.
Give me Cincinnati.
Yeah, if I could change my stardom, I think I'd go with Burrow. He's still throwing the ball all over the place. Let's go with Cincinnati. Jacksonville Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, this is, again, contingent if Indianapolis loses tonight, which I think they will. I'm taking Jacksonville.
And also if Phillip Rivers actually survives in general. So give me Jags.
Yeah, I'm going with Jags in the quarterback play. Seattle and Carolina.
I'm going against my better judgment here because I like Seattle a lot, but I'm going to take Carolina just because they're a hot team.
Carolina is such a weird team, man. Give me Seattle, though.
I'm going with Carolina. I think the Sam Darnold effect's going to kick in. New England Patriots and New York Jets should have been a good one.
I'm guessing this might be a blowout. I sometimes I get a feeling like the Jets might or somebody might play somebody tougher. Not in this situation. I think New England righted the ship again after that loss to Buffalo, and they're not going to want to take any prisoners with the Jets. I think this is going to be a bad game for the Jets.
This will be a closest game because the division rivals, of course, but the Pats ultimately win this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Pats on this one. New Orleans Saints, which is a better team now, and Tennessee Titans.
These teams actually are playing, I guess, as good as they've been playing all year. So from that standpoint, it's a little bit of a tough. If this game was in New Orleans, I'd absolutely jump all over them. I'm going to take Tennessee, but this is really a toss-up game for me.
The Saints, I think, have won 3 games in a row. I think. Frisky.
Yeah.
Very frisky lately. I mean, final quarterback. Give me Saints, though.
Yeah, the only 10 I see in this one is the amount of fans in the stands. But I'm going to go with Tennessee at home. New York Giants, Las Vegas Raiders.
Wow. How do you pick this game? How do you pick that? I'm going to let that Raider game last week be some kind of a mirage. I can't believe they're going to play tough 2 weeks in a row. I got to take the Giants here.
I'll watch this game. Number 1, I'm a fan. Number 2, Jackson Dart's development. And race number 1 pick, of course, obviously wouldn't lose this game. I'll take the Giants.
Yeah, Giants and Dart for sure. All right, Eagles and Bills.
If this game meant something to the Eagles, I'd really like to jump on the Eagles, but since it doesn't, I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo wins this game. The Eagles start benching players.
It's my birthday. It's the Eagles. I'm taking them. And big games from Tank Bigsby and Tanner McKee, the backup quarterback for the Eagles. So Chicago Bears, San Fran.
I'm going to – this, again, like the Seattle game, I'm going out on a limb because I normally would jump on San Fran here, but I'm going to take Chicago just told they proved me wrong.
This is my game of the week, man, and I think Chicago again, you want to show you belong. Prove it.
Yeah,
I'll pick you.
Great game. San Fran at home at night. I'm going to go with them on this one. And the last one, Los Angeles Rams, who haven't been playing well, and the Falcons.
I'm taking the Rams. Falcons, again, they show up every once in a while and shock you, but I don't think it happens here. I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, Rams going to win out. So
yeah, Rams are going to win this one. And that is your pretty much quick picks for this week.
Yeah.
Not bad. All right, so we're going to wrap up the show. We're going to do, usually we're like, what are you looking forward to, whatever. I came up with an interesting new thing. What do you want from Santa this year in sports, Pat? What for upcoming? What would you like from Santa for sports?
Well, I mean, this is such a bizarre year in the NFL. Here's what I'd like. I'm going to go completely off the board. I'm going in hockey, and I want Santa to give the Florida Panthers a better backup goalie. The guy they have in there now is not going to do it, and you can't have Bobrovsky play all 155 games. So they need a backup goalie. Santa, you can deliver that. That's what I'm asking for.
I'm going to ask Santa to somehow, some way, find a way to trade Tyler Hero, Miami Heat, and somehow get Giannis, but not have to give a Khalil Ware to do so. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just simple things. I want Santa to keep the rest of the Philadelphia Eagles healthy the rest of the way, and go ahead and finish off Baker Mayfield in Tampa, Santa. I'm here for it.
You should go to the game then and jinx them.
Well, that's your PBKC special edition.
You did a good
Christmas
job, Noah.
edition.
I'm not going to say you're at Mike's level, but you didn't do bad. I was worried.
No, you've hosted before. This is by far the best one.
Yeah,
I think
no, this is his first time I had to host with Pat here.
I'll
and
give
the
you
pressure was
credit.
on or whatever. There it
Very
is. So
good.
you heard it here. Hey, from everybody here, from us and myself. And
Sully didn't do as good a job with Jake, though.
He did.
I got to hammer him on that one. Jake, please come back quick.
And I'm sure you guys want to say a word. I like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and,
Yes.
and enjoy the sports. But, yeah, enjoy ribbing on your friends and your family about how bad their sports teams are.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what they're there for.
All right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
We'll see you in a week.
PBKC is your entertainment destination for poker, table games, OTV, Paddock live events, and exceptional eats. The Paddock restaurant is perfect for meetings, corporate functions, parties, fundraising, and more. Call 561-683-2222 extension 199 and book your next event today. Feast in Football is back in the Paddock. Get ready for touchdowns and tasty bites every football Sunday during the regular season. Enjoy a $25 all-you-can-eat buffet plus one draft beer, or get it free when you place a $25 or more live bet on the Hard Rock Bet app at PBKC. Featuring 140 HD TVs, 3 giant screens, and a full bar. Bring your crew, place your bets, and pile your plate high. This is how Sundays were meant to be.